all those veterans that we hold dear, our family members and friends and acquaintances that we know around the world who are serving us to this day. We got the slides up, my friend? There we go. Okay, so to begin with, yesterday my children, and we've got 5 at home, wanted to make it a special day because it was my birthday. And they said, "Dad, today is your day." And I said, "No, it's not, my friends. There are 4 things that eclipse my birthday at a minimum. The first of which is the fact that it's the Lord's Day, and He gets all the glory first. Second, it's the feast day of St. Martin of Tours, who, among many things, he's the patron saint of soldiers. Third, yesterday was the 100th anniversary of the end of the Great War. The war to end all wars that we've known back then. And on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, the world celebrated the end of that tragedy. And finally, yesterday was also Veterans Day, which is what brings us all together here. So a number of things that eclipse the birthday, for sure and by far. All right, we can jump to the next slide. I'd like to start off today by kind of thinking and putting things in a little bit of context. And sometimes people ask me, what can I do to promote peace in this world? Who better to ask than a saint, specifically St. Teresa of Calcutta, who says to us, what can you do? You can go home and you can love your family. And if we take nothing else from this morning, let's all go back home today and try and love our family a little bit more. Next slide, please. As was mentioned, I've had the privilege of spending a little bit of time serving in the armed forces of these United States, and my service started back in 1991 when I showed up at the United States Air Force Academy as a brand spanking new cadet, 17 years old, eager to start my life. And the Air Force Academy set me up for success. I learned how to jump out of an airplane, and I did that 5 times. I learned how to fly a glider by myself. And I learned how to fly a T-41 as preparation to become a jet fighter pilot. I met 2 U.S. presidents, shook hands with both of them, and made one of them laugh. And in a story that I'll share in another venue, it was good that the president laughed, otherwise I might have gotten in trouble for my joke. And eventually I went on to serve, as you just heard, as a fighter pilot, doing neat things all over the world. Now, sometimes people ask me, how is it that you can serve in the armed forces of the United States and at the same time consider yourself to be a man of faith? So, as we look at that question and we build the slide, we see that the first word that we should all be paying attention to is serve. When we join the armed forces, we are serving. And throughout the Bible, we're taught that it's a beautiful thing to be called to serve, specifically to serve in defense of our nations. And if we turn to the Gospel of St. John, we see that Jesus tells us, greater love has no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. So think on that, young boys and girls, as you consider the future. So let's build on this just a little bit, this theme of being a person of faith and also serving in our armed forces. Next slide, we'll think back on the fact that our nation's heroes are called to do a lot more than just follow orders. I'll bring it back to 1946. World War II is done, and the men that are out serving in Germany have a new mission. And their goal and focus is to help rebuild the country that we just spent the last 4 years destroying. The purpose of rebuilding Germany was to make Germany strong, to be able to withstand the forces of evil of the Soviet Union. The men that were out serving in that really difficult time had to overcome the challenge of being exhausted from the fight, the challenge of being separated from their loved ones and family for years, the challenge of not exactly trusting the people that they were serving as they were rebuilding the enemy's land. But they did it. And to hear the words of a young girl who was 5 years old, a war refugee, who walked with her family from Zagreb to Munich, you recognize how good of service those GI, those general infantrymen, were doing to the people that they came across. This young 5-year-old girl named Nadisa every day would go walk in the streets and come across GIs who gave of themselves by sharing their rations, evaporated milk, chocolate, little goodies. Nadisa came to love evaporated milk, chocolate, and goodies because those were the one gifts that she had for many years when her family had nothing. After 14 years of working to get a visa to come to the United States, Nadisa eventually became a naturalized U.S. citizen. She would marry a man named Charles, who would win the Bronze Star Medal in Vietnam. She would have 3 children, all of whom served in the armed forces of these United States. I'm her oldest son. I'm thankful to the GIs that took care of Mom, long before she was Mom, doing things that were well outside of the call of duty, which, by the way, my brother John, as a member of the Army, did for the children of Iraq during his time at FOB X-Ray. The other thing we need to think about as we honor our veterans is the sacrifice that their families are making for us to this day. According to the data that I have, we've got at least 3,000 Missouri Guardsmen serving right now today in harm's way, specifically in the Middle East. And their spouses and their children had to say goodbye, knowing that they were going in harm's way for us. So when you thank a veteran, thank their families as well. Next, please. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about this faith thing. Sometimes it's hard for us to find motivation to get down on our knees and to thank the God of the universe for everything that we have. Sometimes we find it difficult to have the discipline to do what it is that we're asked to do by our God. And it's easy for us to lack that discipline, I think, when things are going well, when life is smooth and there aren't any disruptions. I will tell you this, when you're serving, doing what it is that we're called to do, it's very easy to draw closer to God. And in fact, every single mission that I flew, I promise you this, before I took off, I always said the same prayer. Dear Lord, please don't let me do anything dumb, dangerous, or different today. And when things got really difficult, I started to do my Hail Marys. We see here in the background of this picture an F-15 being refueled on a beautiful sunny day. He's flying close formation with a gigantic aerial tanker that's pumping at least 2,000 pounds of gas per minute into his airplane. That's a scary enough proposition when the weather's good. Now imagine doing this in Saudi Arabia on a dark night in the clouds with turbulence. And that's how it seemed to always go. I promise you, I was never closer to Our Lady than when I was refueling in Saudi Arabia, getting ready to go to Baghdad, and I'm not alone. There's a beautiful Lighthouse Catholic media story about a prisoner of war in Hanoi, a pilot who was shot down over the skies of Vietnam, and who spent many years as a captain with the Vietnamese. He talks about his experiences in Vietnam not with any sort of disgust or anger, quite the opposite. He talks about his experiences because he's thankful for them. You see, during his time in solitary confinement, he was closer to our God than he's ever been before or since, and he misses those days. So think on the implications of putting yourself in a position to be closer to our God. It's a marvelous thing. Final point. I've got 5 young children at home. They love video games. They love watching movies that come out. And the challenge for me as a parent is the fact that there's more and more violence involved in all of the things that we play, right? That's a big challenge. We live in an environment where it's easy to point at somebody that we don't like and to learn to hate them and to call them our enemy. We have to remember this on this Veterans Day celebration, this Memorial of Veterans Day, that even our enemies are created in the image and likeness of God. And I can tell you that as a young pilot, getting ready to fly my combat missions in Iraq, every day I prayed to our God that my opponent, who was probably eating his breakfast, kissing his wife and children goodbye, en route to going his squadron to climb into his airplane, that if my opponent was given the challenge of coming up to meet me in the skies that day, that he would be able to make it back home. I had nothing against that man. As a matter of fact, that pilot was probably the closest person to me in all of Iraq. We both had a passion for aviation. We both loved flying in the skies. It just so happened that I was the lucky one that was born in the United States of America. Now I'm reminded of a homily that I heard in Stuttgart, Germany a couple of years ago, delivered by Father Dino da Singa, retired U.S. Army Major now, who shared with us the story of an American prisoner of war in World War II. Now, in World War II, we were taught to hate the Japanese. This man found himself a prisoner of the Japanese, and he had a Japanese roommate. And each day, both of these roommates were punished. They were treated really, really poorly by the Japanese. But the Japanese prisoner got it worse than the American. And so the American took it upon himself to nurse his roommate back to health as best he could each and every day. Until one day he realized it wasn't going to happen any longer. His roommate was being called to God. And so he looked into the eyes of the man he was taught to hate, and he said, I want to tell you about somebody if you'd be open to it. The man that I love is named Jesus Christ, and I think you need to meet him. And the Japanese soldier said, if this Jesus is half the man that you are, I'd be honored to. Even our enemies are created in the image and in the likeness of God. And so in closing, we'll turn to the Gospel of St. John, and we'll hear Jesus as he says, this is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. I promise you that the service of our veterans is testimony to the fact that they love us like Jesus loves us. They serve us in a similar way. And that's what we need to be thankful for. And in closing, I'll leave you with the farewell that every Vietnam veteran tapped into the walls at the conclusion of every one of their conversations. The three letters, GBU, which stands for God bless you. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you for your time. Thank you.